are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again. And today, man, we have another special episode. Man, we're going to be talking to a music artist, and his name is Nate. Nate Curtis is going to be in with us today. He's going to tell us all about Pulsar Radio and some of his new music that he is working on. But before we do all that, man, first, welcome Nate to the show. Say, how you doing?
Hey, thanks, Shamaya. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, man. Doing well. Thank you.
So, man, we're going to learn a little bit about some music that you're working on. You're going to be releasing an EP pretty soon. And before we do all that, man, tell the audience a little about yourself. How did you get started in the music industry?
Oh man, it's been a minute. Like I've been pretty busy. I mean, I would say my start was my mother was actually a drummer, and she passed on her sticks and stuff to me, and also had like some music running in the family as well. Like my great grandmother played harmonica and sang like Irish tunes on the radio in Los Angeles back in the day. So it was kind of passed down to me. And I did like, I was involved in like marching band and jazz band, drum corps for a little bit, like touring when I was like 16 years old. And it just led to being in bands. Like I was in like a couple bands out of high school. And those bands were 9 to Life and 28 Gates. And we pretty much just played all over the place locally. At the time that was in Florida. And then, I just branched out from there. 28 Gates got a production deal because I passed out some like promotional materials at the Atlantis Music Conference in Atlanta. This is back in like 2006. And we got a production deal, and also just being a drummer. I started out pretty much as a drummer. So I played in a bunch of different projects. Ended up playing on some record in 2006 that took me actually on tour with this gothic rock band for a little while, for 2 years. And I was with them for a little while. Then also did some like auditions for bands. Like I moved out to LA and I went to MI for a minute, like Musicians Institute. And ended up linking up with Social Distortion. Came pretty close to being their drummer. Out of like 60 drummers, I was like in the top 3, and actually got to play with them like twice at their studio. So that was a trip. Oh, and didn't get the gig with them, but then kept persevering and trying to find other bands to play drums in, and actually landed a gig with this group Outernational. They're based out of New York, and they're doing a lot of really good stuff out there. They're still out there too. And I was with them for like 6 years. And then, I don't know, I just got tired of like the grind of touring and just being on the road all the time. So like, I decided to take a break from the road and just focus on, getting myself straight and everything. And then, I just started working on my own music and recording and stuff and writing songs. And I released a solo record last year under the name Nate Curtis. And it's like kind of like, I don't know, it's like kind of like country rock, I would say, or, kind of alternative country rock kind of sound. And I mix like elements of harmonica and acoustic guitar and other things in there. And just like songwriting, like kind of like structured by like the Beatles and stuff. And then that leads us to like Pulsar Radio when like pandemic hit, and all of us, like a lot of us actually were laid off or lost our jobs. I just like went full force into the music and stuff, and started working on Pulsar Radio. And that was inspired by last summer, just being like at home and, just with this whole pandemic thing and kind of uncertainty and stuff, and just being really immersed in like space. And there was a lot of things going on last summer, especially during the pandemic, with like, I think there was like a comet Neowise that actually flew by the Earth or something. There was a couple like space rocks that almost like hit the Earth too. So that was interesting. And then just going out and like, checking out stargazing and stuff as well. That was a lot of fun during the summertime. And that's like inspired like the Pulsar radio thing and the sound. And I've just been working on that stuff for like the last year now. And some of that stuff's actually starting to finally come out. The Nate Curtis stuff's already on Spotify. That came out like last year. But the Pulsar radio stuff, I just released my first single, Sea of Dreams. And that's available on Spotify and iTunes and such. And I think YouTube Music as well. But yeah, just, working on that stuff, and Pulsar radio is just kind of like my new passion as well, like working on that and trying to get that out there. And then every now and again, I'm doing like some acoustic shows around town, around LA. Like I'm playing the Viper Room Lounge November 4th. And then Pulsar Radio has a show November 13th in Camarillo, which is like way out, like Ventura County. It's like basically like going on tour. So it's starting to get the Pulsar stuff out there. Yeah.
So you've been really making this brand grow, because when I read Pulsar Radio, I was like, oh, is this gonna be like a internet radio station? What's this? But I like the play of words. When you thought of the name, give us the thought process of why did you want to call it Pulsar Radio?
Well, it's interesting because Pulsar's stars are neutron stars that have like, they basically have died. And the Pulsar star emits radio frequencies. And it was like discovered like in the 1950s, I think, by a woman and this scientist, another man. And they basically discovered this whole thing by accident. And the radio frequencies that these pulsars give off was like a new thing. So I was like, radio, like Pulsar, like I would look. I actually looked on Google and I actually checked Spotify. That's my go-to whenever I'm thinking of band names, because I got a million band names. Right. And I was like, all right, let's see. All right. So there's already a band called Pulsar, and I can't just be a Pulsar. Then I was also thinking Supernova or something like that, but there's already a super group called Supernova, like with a bunch of super bands. I
thought about Kanye West when you said that.
Yeah, Kanye too, right? So I was like, what am I gonna do? Like Pulsar. I was like, Pulsar Radio, and I was like, yeah, Pulsar Radio kind of has a cool tune to it, and also that kind of goes back to like thinking about the Clash as well, which is like one of my favorite bands, because they mixed everything together. And they always carried around a boombox with them, like wherever they went. So I was like, that'd be cool to like carry around a boombox, but it'd be like Pulsar Radio. So like you're kind of tuned into the frequency of the stars, So yeah,
definitely makes you stand out, because I was like, oh, that's interesting. Because I was like, oh, I would never have thought of that, but that's pretty dope. And that's why music artists do what they do. They have that creative mind. They have that creative space where they just make something out of nothing. As an artist, and you're not just an artist, you're a producer, you're many hats.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part in the music industry when it comes to creating your work?
Man, favorite part is just being able to work with like other talented people, like, collaborating and things. Like I know the Sea of Dreams song, like I worked with a good friend of mine who actually I played with in Outernational and a couple other bands in New York. His name's Johnny Marquez. And he's just like he's one of the most talented guitar players that I know. And just to work with him, I mean, even though it was different because of the pandemic, like he had to move back to where he was from. Like he was out here in LA with me for a while, and he moved back to Florida. And I had to have him send me his tracks, like via, thankfully we have the internet right now, but he sent me his tracks, and I was able to like just upload that into the track and work on, the first single, Sea of Dreams. And his guitar parts just like fit perfectly into the track. And there was so much like, I don't know, just melody, and it was very melodic and added to the song. I was like, man, I got to put this solo in here. And it just like made that song just so much better even. I mean, just the icing on the cake, So I mean, I think my favorite part is just being able to still work with people and bands that I've worked with in the past, or, you know, maybe even new people to collaborate with. I think the collaboration process and just actually being able to create music with people is probably one of the highlights of the job, you know. And then also just using that inspiration from, you know, space and things, you know, uh, science, you know, just in putting that behind the music and stuff too, and using actual science to actually make the music too, with, you know, Pro Tools and all that good stuff.
Once again, talking to Nate Curtis on Iron Focus Radio. You can find him on reverbnation.com/Pulsar Radio, and also on Facebook.
Sorry about that. I had a call come in.
Oh, you good. You can also find him on Facebook.com, Pulsar Radio Fans. So you are a fan, I would say, of space, to say the least.
Yes.
Give us the story behind.
I love sci-fi. Big sci-fi head. I mean, I of course love Star Wars and Star Trek. Big fan of those. I think Star Trek actually uses a lot of science-based things too, which I really love. Star Wars is a little more fantasy-based, but, like, you know, there's still some stuff in there too. There's like a lot of deeper meaning in Star Wars as well. I think just being like a sci-fi head growing up over the years, you know, like E.T. was like the first movie I ever saw. Like, you know, I love E.T. I could still watch E.T. now and just, man, I don't know, it gets me every time, you know. Like, the end of that movie when E.T. leaves, man, it gets me all choked up still. Like, and I'm, you know, I'm older now, obviously, but when I saw that movie in the theater, I was a kid, man. It's the first movie my dad ever took me to. That I think that resonated with me, that movie, for sure. And then just watching, like, you know, Steven Spielberg, like Close Encounters of the Third Kind. That's another one that's really good as well.
Now with all these movies, if someone were to call you and say, "Hey, we need a soundtrack," what kind of sound would you try to produce, and what would it be like as far as the vibe?
I think the vibe would be chill. I mean, I definitely would come from I think I come from like a jazz background anyway, just like growing up and stuff. Like I was in jazz band in high school, and it had a big part to play in my life. And there was a musician out there, a jazz head, who said, I'm forgetting his name right now, but he said, jazz is the universal language jazz is the language of the universe. And I thought that was really interesting. So I think I would apply a lot of jazz to it, but also like maybe try and incorporate some sounds from actual space. Like maybe some of these pulsar stars that are out there, actually try and sample some of that stuff and put it in there.
Now, if you could sample stuff from outer space, you're just beyond your time.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm working on it. I mean, I think that's actually what I'm going to try to do in the next EP that's coming out in January, or the first EP that's coming out. I don't think it's going to have any samples in there of the space, but I think my second EP that I'm going to be working on, probably starting next year, I'm definitely going to try and put some of those pulsar star sounds in there and actually incorporate the rhythms, because, you know, coming from the drumming background too that I have, definitely want to incorporate the rhythms of the stars and the sounds of those stars into the song. And that, I think, kind of would dictate some of the vibe too. You know, if the sounds coming from this one pulsar, say it's a little bit more fast, you know, the song might be a little more punk rock or metal even, you know, because there's some of those influences as well. So I mean, I think incorporating jazz with like metal and things like that, like those are things that also have yet to be kind of messed around with and discovered as well, you know. So trying to mix different genres and then also like sample space sounds, like who does that?
I mean, that would be the next level.
Right.
I mean, I didn't think about that. I'm like turning my head like, man, that would be really dope. Like, there's so many titles you can have on your next, you know, future songs. You'd be out of this world. I mean, it's crazy. It's like
literally out of this world, right?
Yeah. But you being so drawn to science, that's really cool. That's like something a lot of people don't always talk about, math and science. So when it comes to just the educational part of that, is that something that you try to share with fans as far as some of the educational stuff about science?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. I think everything is kind of math and science based, and a lot of people, like you said, don't look at it that way. But I feel like it comes from that place where there's a lot of knowledge behind it, you know. And I do try to instill that into some of the music. I mean, granted, I like put a lot of emotion into my music as well. Like Sea of Dreams, for instance, is like about losing my grandmother. A lot of people listen to it, they think it's a love song. It is a love song, but it's more about the relationship and losing someone. And there's also a tidbit of like maybe say Pink Floyd in there, like Wish You Were Here. Because even in the chorus of that song, I say, "Oh, how I wish you were here with me," because I wish my grandmother was still here. Granted, you know, she's still with us, but in another capacity, and you know, always in our hearts and in memories and stuff too. But I think that also goes back to even thinking about pulsar stars. Like when pulsar stars are, you know, neutron stars, when they die, they leave behind this like kind of frequency footprint, and it's like a pulsing star. So it's still kind of alive when you think about it. And this like light is still it's almost like a beacon in space. They're saying that pulsar stars could eventually be used as like kind of guides, you know, for like space travel. So like if you're in space and say you come across this one pulsar, oh, that's, you know, that's the crab pulsar. I know that I'm getting closer to our galaxy kind of thing. So I try to like, I'm trying to instill all this stuff into the music as well, and also kind of tell a story. And yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's important to try and, open more minds, and, you know, get people thinking more outside the box, less about themselves and more about, you know, the big picture in space, you know? So,
Yeah.
and science, and I think space does that, you know, and it can do that. So,
Now,
yeah.
yeah, this episode right here, it makes me feel like I'm on like PBS or Discovery Channel or something, because it's like, man,
Nova.
yeah, this should
Right?
be like on TV somewhere. Like someone needs to do a documentary on you and what you're doing, because I never heard anything like this. I'm
That's cool,
sure, I'm
man.
sure, I'm sure someone out there in this world is probably like, hey, you got to interview me. But I'm just saying, like, the way this is structured is very unique. That's cool. That's really
Thanks,
cool.
man. Yeah, thank you. I mean, I'm really, you know, thank you. That means a lot. I mean, I feel like it's a real privilege to actually be on the show too and just talk about this stuff, because, you know, I've been kind of keeping this stuff really close to the chest, but it's like I also need to share it with people too, you know, and just I think the music that I'm going to be putting out, like I'm putting out another, I think 2 singles in the next couple of weeks. And then also the EP in January, like a 5-song EP. And I think that 5-song EP is going to kind of tell the journey of like, you know, space and things that we're talking about, but also like, you know, just, I don't know, man, like just going through like the pandemic and stuff too. And then, you know, trying to think outside of what we're going through here on Earth, and try to think of, you know, things that are happening in the universe. That kind of, in a way, that kind of helped me too, you know. But it also, through music, you know, the writing the songs and things as well definitely helped a lot. Um, and music's always been kind of a good therapeutic way to just express myself. And I think being like I don't know, man, being a drummer in bands too, like I always feel like I had more than just being a drummer. Like I still play guitar, and I had like that melody and stuff, and wanting to write lyrics and things too. So it's really cool to be able to like be where I'm at this level in my career in music, and actually start to feel like I'm creating something that's like, you know, I don't know. I feel like it's, like you said, it's a little bit different, you know, outside the box, out of this world. And I
So
think
it's
maybe
literally
that's
on.
what
It should be on MTV right now. Like, I'll say
I
this,
wish,
man. Like
man, I wish, I wish.
you're in LA, Los Angeles, and that's
Yeah.
like everyone knows LA, New York, you know, one of the top places to be creatively speaking.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
would you collab with someone if someone were to like make a short film, like cartoon of you like on Mars drumming or something? Because like that's almost what I see in my head. Like you in the
Dude, I mean,
future.
that would totally, I mean, that'd be dope. I mean, I would be down. I mean, I think I'm also like very inspired by like, you know, the Beastie Boys too. Like growing up, man, I was a big Beastie Boys fan. And just like, you know, MCA, you know, rest in peace. He was all about space, and he was a big Trekkie fan and stuff too. And I think I watched a documentary about the Beastie Boys recently, and I was really great. I mean, just going through the whole history of the group and everything, and just MCA was such a huge part of that band, and he was very scientific too. So in a way, I think I got inspired by that. You know, I got re-inspired by the Beastie Boys before I started the whole Pulsar thing too. And it's funny, man, being in LA, I was in South Pasadena, and I was eating like at this Mediterranean spot, and it just opened up, and it was in South Pasadena. And this was before the pandemic, and I'm eating there, and my fiance at the time was like, you know, she just came back from the bathroom. We're like, I'm sitting there eating. I'm like really, really hungry, you know? So I'm eating, not paying attention what's going on around me. And it was a grand opening of this place. Like they had a camel outside and all sorts of stuff going on. And there's this guy in line, and he was this older looking gentleman, like gray hair and stuff. And she comes back from the bathroom and she's freaking out. I'm like, what is it? You know? And sometimes when I don't get to eat, like I didn't eat like earlier that day, so I was really hangry. Like I was not just hungry, I was angry and hungry at the same time.
Mhm.
So I was like, man, I got to eat some food. So I was just like chowing down, and I was like, what is it? You know, she was freaking out. Well, it turns out the guy that was in line that she saw and that I kind of glanced at was Ad Rock from the Beastie Boys.
Wow.
And I was like, no way. Like, I was like, what? And she was trying to tell me all casually and quietly so he wouldn't notice, but I was like, what? You know? So it just like kind of turned into this thing. And he saw and heard that we identified who he was. And when I figured out who he was, I was like, I tripped out. I was like, whoa, like we got to get a picture with him and this and that. But as soon as he got like, I figured it out. He was up at the front of the line, grabbed his food. He grabbed 2 big giant bags of food and looked at us and just kind of smiled, and he was out. Like, I felt bad, like if we couldn't ask him for a picture, you know. So the answer,
he was in the same place. He was hangry.
Yeah, he was exactly. He was hangry too, and he had a family to feed. So
hey, that's a music video right there. Like that would be funny.
That would be funny, right? But yeah, I don't know, man. I think I would really love to work with the remaining 2 Beastie Boys that are still around. Like maybe even do a remix of some of the rock stuff that I'm doing, and do something with those 2 that are still here with us. And I think that would be dope. Or even work with Pink Floyd, some of the members, like maybe Roger Waters or David Gilmour and stuff too. That would be awesome.
Now, if you did that, you gotta get Bill Nye the Science Guy in the music video. That'd be epic. And then have it on MTV.
Yeah, Bill Nye, hell yeah, let's get Bill Nye on there.
But
that's awesome.
Being that creative mind, as we wrap this up, what's the legacy that you're hoping you leave for just people who come across your music?
I think the legacy, man, I'm hoping I leave behind like a musical legacy of just, you know, people enjoying the music that I put out, and you know, hopefully it takes them to a place, you know, that they can identify with, and at the same time makes them think about, you know, space and the universe and things, but also, you know, have a, you know, emotional feel behind it as well, and be able to put feelings of their lives behind it as well. And I would hope to accomplish, you know, just being able to not only, you know, touch people emotionally with the music, but also, like I said, like just leave behind like that knowledge, you know, like people feel like after they listen to the music, like, okay, well, not only does that music make me feel really, really good, you know, but like I also have like more of an understanding of what's really out there and what's going on, Like, I think, yeah, I would like to hope that the music would definitely do that and try to help people, like maybe even a positive light, give them more positivity, because we need that right now. So
once again, been talking to Nate Curtis. You can check him out on reverbnation.com, Pulsar Radio, facebook.com/Pulsar Radio fans. And if you want to hear music that's literally outside of this world, you might want to go check him out. And how can people book you if you're doing bookings?
Yeah, I mean, you could go on to Facebook there through the Pulsar Radio fans link there, and there should be my email on there. You can book me through there. You could also listen to the music for free if you have a Spotify account. It's on Spotify or iTunes, Pulsar Radio, and also the Nate Curtis stuff, which is N8 Curtis. There's some music there as well. That's a little bit more like, kind of has like an older, like old school kind of homage to like alternative kind of country rock, sound. That's out there too on Spotify as well. But as far as booking, best way to book me is definitely through the Facebook page, I would say. And I'm usually pretty responsive on there for sure. And yeah, I've actually got some gigs coming up that I booked myself, and I'm working with a couple booking agents here in LA. The Viper Room show was through a new booking agent that I'm working with. So probably, if things go well with this first show, I might actually play some more shows around town. And B Squared Management is out of Nashville. I just signed with them, and they're actually working on a tour for next year. Just doing weekend shows like in March and April. And then I might do a tour from Los Angeles to Florida, and then Florida and back, maybe hit, Northeast New York and New England and stuff, and then try to head back this way. So keep an eye out for the tour, and also that EP that's coming up too in January for sure. And that'll also be available on Spotify and iTunes as well.
Once again, talking to Nate. You can go check him out, like you said, on reverbnation.com, Pulsar Radio, and facebook.com/Pulsar Radio fans. I want to say thanks for taking time, your busy schedule, talking to I Am Refocused Radio. Thanks for your time, man.
Thank you, Shemaiah. Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I'd love to be back on the show again sometime, hopefully soon. Take care.